the red going away, and that's why you have just on the north end of St. Joseph right now is where we're looking at that potential obviously catastrophic tornado on the ground right now. There's your debris ball. Yes.
Confirm that it has been observed.
It has been. Okay.
It has been observed. This is not just a radar indicated tornado. Okay. We have had it observed, and that is the one of that line extending from near Blairsville and now pushing into Melody Hill, moving northeast at 65 miles per hour, a confirmed tornado.
Okay. 60, so it's moving at 65 miles per hour.
Yes.
That is a fast-moving storm. Okay, so we're going to bring this up. I'm going to pull the... All right, 65 miles per hour. Okay, so Hobstadt, you have about a 6-minute heads up still at this point, possibly even less. I would say closer to 3. Safe spots now, lowest level of the structure you're in, away from those exterior walls and windows. You heard Griffin, 100-mile-per-hour winds are a possibility with this system. Fort Branch, you have until 12:54, about 10 minutes, maybe even closer to 8 at this point. Somerville, 1 o'clock. Princeton, 1 o'clock. Francisco, 1:01. Oakland City, you have until 1:04. Set your watches now. You need to be in your safe spot minutes before the numbers I'm heading out right now, because what we're talking about is a confirmed tornado that has been observed. It is creating a debris ball on our radar right here, and that is the concern, because what this means is that it's literally lofting debris into the atmosphere. Our radar sweeping through it. It is detecting something other than rain or hail on your screen right now. That is debris from a tornado that's on the ground near Armstrong currently. Let's look at the latest shear rate. You can see exactly same spot right there, St. Joseph to Armstrong. We're waiting on that latest radar sweep here, and hopefully we can get that soon coming in. But let's look at our wind speed data currently associated with this system. So according to our latest data, about 76. Look at that, Griffin. We just registered 112 estimated wind gust on our screen right here. That may be one of the strongest winds we've registered with this product. So it's a fairly significant thunderstorm that has generated a tornado that is currently on the ground near Armstrong. If you're near Armstrong, Darmstadt, Stacer, Nisbet, St. Wendell, St. James, Hobstadt, Cynthiana. Cynthiana, not in the direct path of this system, but nonetheless, you need to be in your safe spot. Poseyville, the same story. Please, please, please get in those safe spots right now. It is a potentially dangerous storm on the screen currently. We're still watching that debris ball as of right now. Let's look and see if hail is a problem. Hail doesn't really seem to be a problem today, which is good. If there's any silver lining here, that's not a concern. But obviously, that tornadic activity. Okay, so we had the latest radar sweep. We have our latest rotation tracker data here. All right, so we placed the storm northeast of Armstrong, northwest of Hobstadt, moving northeast at about 65 miles per hour. St. James, or I should say, excuse me, the storm is northwest of Darmstadt, southwest of Hobstadt. So if you're in Hobstadt, St. James, Stacer, please, please, please be in that safe spot now. You do not have time at this point. Get to that safe spot, whether it's a basement, whether it's a crawl space, a washroom on the first floor, a closet, something like that. Also, shoes on. A lot of times, and we ran into this with Lot in December with that massive, or a year ago December, with that massive tornado that rolled through many of our Kentuckian communities. A lot of folks had damage, and they got out of their safe spot without shoes on. And then you have debris on the ground, stuff like that. So shoes on before you get it to your safe spot. So we have another roll here from our radar. So Nisbet, Hobstadt, you're essentially under the gun right now. St. James, but we're watching this area in yellow right now. Let's see if we can get another look at a debris ball. Nothing quite yet. So what we look at when we're looking at our debris detector, there's a lot of interference right down here. This is just clear skies and rain and wind. But what we look for is a specific area of blue amongst the sea of red, and that is exactly what we're seeing near Nisbet right now. So that is a threat, and that is possibly still that area of debris. And that coincides with our rotation tracker and our wind data. Now, if there is good news here, it is that our wind data doesn't look quite as significant. It is, I will say, inching closer to the radar site, however, and that can sometimes lead to less significant looking returns on our radar data. But that being said, we're still going to treat this as though it is a tornado on the ground. So right now, watching that shear rate, watching that rotation tracker doesn't necessarily look all that significant. Just off to the west of Hobstadt, west of St. James right now. This is the area in which we are watching. Let's go back to our debris tracker. There's the debris right now west of St. James. Again, moving northeast at 65 miles per hour. We're going to pull that area out, or our cone out, and let you know exactly how long you have until this system reaches your neck of the woods. Let's zoom in a little bit first, and then we'll bring that back out. So there's our debris ball. Get out to about 65 miles per hour here. Okay, so Hobstadt, you have literal moments. It says 3 minutes, probably less than that at this point. Fort Branch, you have until 12:55. That's 6 minutes from now. Francisco, you have until 1:03. That's about a 14-minute heads up. Oakland City, 1:07. Winslow, 2:13. Petersburg, 2:16. If I've mentioned a community near where you're located, you need to be in that safe spot. Again, lowest level of the structure you're in, away from those exterior windows and walls. Even if a tornado doesn't affect you, those 70-mile-per-hour winds associated with the same storm that's generating this tornado may. So please, just be safe, be cautious. Again, shoes on as well. Once you get to that safe spot, it may seem silly putting your shoes on inside your house, but you may thank me for that once the storm comes and goes and there may be debris. Again, you have to watch out for that. So, Hazel, do we have anything else as far from National Weather Service? Griffin, have you seen anything come through?
So we just got an update. So we obviously that tornado was observed, and but no confirmed sightings of the tornado.
Okay.
But we will continue to keep an eye on that. As far as the tornado warning, they are going to continue it for Gibson, Pike, Posey, Vandenberg, and Warwick counties until 1:30 for another 40 minutes now. I do want you all to be aware that there's severe thunderstorms capable of producing tornadoes still located along a line extending from near Cynthiana to near Darmstadt. So between Posey and portions of northern Vandenberg County, moving northeast at 45 miles per hour. So it has slowed down slightly. Okay. But they are saying the strongest of these are were just east of Poseyville.
Okay. Yeah. And you can see that reflected on our screen right here. And this is just a reflectivity. So these are just our radar returns. And what's interesting about this is because normally, Griffin knows this, but normally when we see very strong organized tornadoes come through, they have what's called a hook echo on the back of them. And storms tend to move west to northeast or west to east here in the United States. These storms are moving essentially due north. And you're actually getting almost a little bit of a hook echo on the back edge of where that rotation couplet was and debris ball was a short bit ago, except it's moving north, so that couplet and that curl kind of curls back east out towards Hobstadt. So that's, again, where we're watching that threat for potentially damaging winds and that tornadic threat. But again, the National Weather Service has issued that tornado warning, a confirmed tornado warning for portions of Pike County as well as Gibson County and down towards Warwick County. The greatest threat for these storms, however, remains just west of Hobstadt, south of Fort Branch. If you have a safe spot, please be in it right now. Again, the unfortunate thing is this is also getting precariously close to our radar site. And that's a problem because radar doesn't necessarily read at the correct heights when the closer you get to it. So there is a debris ball disappearing on our radar right now, which is unfortunate, but we can still track some wind data to give you a generally estimated location of what we could be dealing with. So at last look, we were just west of Hobstadt. That is essentially where we kind of find ourselves right now. So if you're in Fort Branch, McGarry, Hobstadt, you need to be in that safe spot immediately, folks. It's not the time you want to hang out the door and look out and see what's going on out there. You don't need to do that. Just be in that safe spot. Just be safe. Use extra caution with this. So we don't necessarily have a debris detection on our radar now. That's the good news. The bad news is that while that is all well and good, we are very close to the center of our radar site, and that may not be reading much of that debris on your screen right now. We are still looking at a good amount of share or rotation on our screen here. So from Owensville, the Fort Branch, the Hobstop, if we're continuing on that line in which we were watching earlier, this is likely from Durham, the Fort Branch, Hobstop. That's likely where we're seeing the greatest threat of that rotation. There's a couple couplets back towards Cynthiana and Mounts right now, though, again, that is very close to that radar site, so that could be causing a problem for us and kind of interfering with what we could be seeing. So we're going to focus on the Fort Branch. It kind of looks like, if I had to go completely based on what we're seeing, Fort Branch just maybe west of Fort Branch, right here on your screen. So I'm going to get rid of the arrows, and then we can kind of just circle it on the screen right here. From Durham, the Fort Branch, that's probably where we're seeing some sort of rotation. Yep, there it is right there on our rotation tracker. So we're watching that. There does appear to be some rotation off to the south of that. Let's go back to our wind data. There's not really much there. You can see some reds and greens together there, but there's not much organization. So I'm going to focus more on this system just around Durham and Fort Branch. Again, moving fast. It was moving at 65 miles per hour. Griffin just came in with the latest data from the National Weather Service saying about 45 miles per hour. But nonetheless, this is a fairly fast-moving storm right now.
I have another update for you.
It would probably be just now west of Durham. Between Durham and McGarry, moving out towards King, Baldwin Heights, Douglas, Princeton. You are next up as well. So I'm actually going to zoom back out here, and we're going to go for that cone and see if I can get a general idea here. So right there at about, we'll say about 45 miles per hour, Griffin. That's the latest data we had. Pushing northeast. Princeton, you have about a 8-minute heads up, probably closer to 5 minutes at this point. If you're in Princeton, you're watching this. If you're near Princeton and you're watching this, safe spots, folks. If you know somebody who lives in Princeton, a family member, a friend, shoot them a text, give them a call, say, hey, it's time to get into the washroom, time to get into the basement. This is the type of storm that you don't want to fool around with, because this has been a confirmed tornado moving northeast at, again, about 45 to 50 miles per hour. So please, 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 safe spots, folks. Before we get back to that, I do want to focus on those severe thunderstorm warnings still capable of generating winds in excess of 70 miles per hour. Not the say that they're not important, but when you have a tornado on the ground with debris, that's something you tend to focus on a bit more. But these storms still moving fairly quickly. Howland, Santa Claus, Dale, Crisney, Lewisport. You're next up here. Tell City, Hawesville, Fordsville, Whitesville catching it pretty significantly right now. The area is just east of Hartford and Beaver Dam. This is all the damaging wind threat. 70 mile per hour winds, still a possibility. But you can see again, as we move forward, that threat of a confirmed tornado, obviously front of the mind at this point. So we're going to continue to watch that. Again, out towards Fort Branch, that seems to be the greatest threat of that rotation. Kind of a weak rotation couplet right there between Durham and north out towards King, Baldwin Heights, and eventually out towards Princeton. But this is going to be moving towards King, Baldwin Heights, Princeton, Douglas. If you have any folks, anybody you know out that way that could potentially be impacted by this system, they've probably gotten the text message on their phone. They've probably got some sort of notification, but it doesn't hurt to shoot a text or call them and tell them exactly what's headed their direction. Griffin, do you have anything coming in from National Weather Service? Damage reports, anything quite like that that you're seeing that could kind of corroborate some of what we're seeing on our screen right here?
Well, the National Weather Service just came out and said that they have expired the tornado warning for Vandenberg County, so that is great news. But still very gusty winds. Most of the storm is now moving into Warwick and Posey, or Pike and Gibson counties at this hour. Just want to be aware as well. I know this is kind of away from it, but just because of how strong the winds are, they have now put the majority of the tri-state under a high wind warning instead of the wind advisory. And like we were saying earlier, they just an update on that observed tornado. They did say that for Gibson and Pike, that there are still the severe thunderstorms capable of producing tornadoes. And it is now this line that we've been tracking. It is extending near Owensville to near Oakland City in Gibson County, and it is moving northeast at about 65 miles per hour.
Okay, so back up to about that 65 mile per hour
And just
stretch.
to give you another update before you get on to it, there was a local storm report in Vandenberg County of shingles off of a roof.
Okay.
Siding off of the house,
Yeah, I'm not surprised by
and
that.
trees down. And then Highway 351 in Henderson County. You're going to want to avoid that. It's going to be closed for a little while due to damage covering the road.
Okay, so we do have confirmed reports of damage, some structure damage because of these winds. Again, wind gusts with a lot of these storms around 70 miles per hour plus. We registered with this system out towards Princeton right now in Fort Branch. We registered an estimated wind gust of 112 miles per hour on our radar a short bit ago. None of these storms, no matter if it's a severe thunderstorm warning or tornado warning or any types of the storms you want to fool around with, because we are getting those reports of damage as of right now. So looking at our rotation tracker, there's not a ton of organization. Again, the problem is we are very close. Johnson, Owensville, that's essentially where our radar site is. So we're kind of close to it right now. And you can see right around the radar site, we're getting a lot of that interference. We're far enough away to know that what we're seeing is essentially rotation on your screen. How strong it is the concern, because it could be stronger than what we're seeing on our screen right now. It may be weaker. So we're just going to treat this as we have been over the last about half an hour here as a tornado on the ground. We will continue to treat it that way at least until 1:30 or the National Weather Service cancels this warning. So multiple severe thunderstorm warnings remaining in effect. We have the one confirmed tornado warning in effect right now as well. Let's go back to our reflectivity and kind of update everybody on what we're seeing on our screen. So for the last little while here, we've been looking at our wind speed data, our 60, 70 mile per hour winds, in excess of that as well with that 112 mile per hour radar return that we had. But if there's a good news here, it does appear that the majority of these storms are beginning to push northeast out of the tri-state. We are not out of the woods quite yet, however. If you're behind this storm system, Evansville, Henderson, Madisonville, Carmi, Fairfield, Harrisburg, you're in the clear. Your severe weather threat has come to an end. But there are still plenty of folks that are ahead of this line, including Jasper, Huntingburg, Ferdinand, Santa Claus, Tell City, Hawesville, Cloverport, Hardensburg, Fordsville catching it right now, Canaryville, all on the leading edge of the system, all going to be dealing with the potential threat of 60 to 70 mile per hour winds within the next about 10 to about 30 minutes here. Let's jump back over to that threat of rotation. Not seeing much in the way of organization anymore. This is the good news. Again, we had a little bit of a hook on the back edge of a thunderstorm near Fort Branch. If I'm being totally honest with you here, there's something out towards Princeton and Baldwin Heights. We said the storm was headed in that direction. It looks like it may still be. It's not particularly organized nor strong. We might be seeing some minor debris there. It's kind of tough to tell, again, with being so close. Yeah, I would say that Baldwin Heights, Princeton. So let's call it on the south end of Princeton right now. If you are in Princeton, you are under the gun. This is where we're seeing that potential rotation. The south end of Baldwin, or south end of Princeton, moving directly over Princeton at the latest radar loop there. Again, not necessarily significantly strong nor organized, but it is there. And this is a tornado that has generated debris, which means it has touched down at some point south of where it currently lies. Let's go back to our wind data right now. So Princeton, you are under the gun. If you're in Princeton, you need to be in that safe spot now. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, folks. Please, please, please. So Princeton, Baldwin Heights, we need to be in our safe spots immediately. Gunner Council is in the Weather Center with us right now. Gunner, you've been out seeing some of this. Have you seen anything from National Weather Service? You've been kind of in Evansville, seeing what's going on with this system. Have you seen anything from National Weather Service? Have you seen any reports just being out in it a short bit ago? Have you seen anything to report on?
Well, the area of rotation that is over pretty much Gibson and into Pike County, I saw it as it passed right over the station. There was a big clump of clouds, very dark. As soon as it passed over, very strong wind. So that is hopeful in that these areas of rotation that we're seeing are hopefully just rotating clouds and not tornadoes, but we are seeing those debris balls. But the real concern isn't just those tornadoes, but also those wind gusts, as we could be seeing them even as those storms pass. Especially after those storms pass, that's when non-tornado strength winds can be impacting the area, because as soon as that area of rotation went past, the threat for a tornado was over in Evansville, but the winds increased significantly. So definitely that's something to keep an eye on as we head throughout the area, because once those storms roll through, that's really when the threat for non-tornado strong winds becomes apparent and going to be lasting through the evening. But that's pretty much what we have right now through the Weather Center. Just a severe thunderstorm warning in Jasper, Huntingburg, Ferdinand, as that storm moves through Santa Claus right now as we speak.
Yeah, it's been certainly active, and you hit on it. We're tracking this potential for a tornado for Pike and Gibson counties right now, moving fairly quickly. But that's, again, a lot of times what happens is when you're talking about that tornadic activity or that threat of tornadic activity, you tend to let some of those straight line winds fall by the wayside, and that's not meant to happen. But what ends up happening is these winds come and go. And here's what we're dealing with. Again, these storms are moving fast. You have essentially storms on top of Tell City as of right now. Cannleton, Tell City, Troy, likely catching 60, 70 mile per hour winds. Santa Claus right now. Ferdinand, you have about a 2 to 5 minute heads up. Huntingburg, you're probably starting to feel some of those winds. Jasper, the same story. All of those communities I just mentioned under the gun with that threat of potentially damaging straight line winds in excess of 60, possibly 70 miles per hour. So that is all pushing northeastward, eventually exiting the tri-state. The good news is, if you are on the back edge of this system, you are in the clear. Griffin, you have something for me?
Okay, so we do have some information. Obviously, that tornado warning has been canceled for Gibson and Pike, which is great news. But also, just coming in, that we've received the National Weather Service that St. Joe Church at St. Joe Road and St. Wendell Road on the west side, so west side of Evansville, the church roof is gone.
Wow. Okay, so we have a confirmed damage report. St. Joe Church on the west side of Evansville, damage to the steeple of that church. The roof is gone. So that is one fairly significant structural damage report. We've had a few reports of trees down, shingles off roofs, siding off of buildings, but nothing quite to that significance yet. Do we have a report of when that happened, a general timeline?
That does not, they don't have a timeline, but I mean, from where the, the rotation of that observed tornado, where it was going through, that's about that area, Cam. And then, also, just to add, before, I give it back to you, the emergency management in Spencer County, Indiana, around 1 o'clock, they put that trees, there are now trees down in Rockport, which is in Spencer County. 3 power poles are down, along with trees down on Highway 161 just north of Owensboro.
Okay. So
that's going to be close to the Blue Bridge.
Okay. All right, so we have trees down, structural damage. Again, this storm really wreaking havoc across the tri-state. And as far as wind speeds go, we've seen those winds get up routinely to 70-plus miles per hour. Just doing a few queries on our storm data here. Estimated wind speeds near Decker and Hazleton, near Princeton, about 77, 73, 76, 75 miles per hour. Those winds can take roofs off of buildings. We've obviously seen that happen over the last little while here. And anywhere you're seeing a bright green on your screen is the possibility of those damaging straight line wind threats. Bring our eyedropper back out towards Winslow. Seeing probably about 55 mile per hour winds there. Let's bring it back east a little bit, out towards Jasper. So these bright areas in green out towards Jasper. On the north end of Jasper, 53 mile per hour winds, 47 mile per hour winds. So we're still seeing that significant potential for damaging straight line wind. Griffin coming in with that report just a short bit ago there. But obviously the greatest concern right now, these bright greens towards Patoka, Hazleton, just north of Princeton, just east of Mount Carmel as well. Petersburg, you're probably catching some very gusty winds right now. Winslow on the back edge, Oakland City on the back edge. And as this storm system lifts northward, the threat of severe weather will wane for the areas off to the west and to the south. A couple light rain showers lingering. And yes, Gunnar also mentioned that those winds are going to stick around as well. High wind warning in effect for much of the tri-state with wind gusts and excess of 50 to possibly 55 miles per hour later on in the afternoon. Even once these storms subside and exit the tri-state, the strong winds will indeed stick around. So blustery conditions expected throughout the rest of your day. So yes, damaging straight line wind threat, that's not going anywhere quite yet. We have all of these severe thunderstorm warnings in effect at least until 1:30 Central Time. We're going to go through kind of just starting. So out towards Breckenridge County, we have that through Perry County, Indiana at 1:30. Back in towards Pike County, Spencer County, Warwick County, Gibson County as well. That is all through about 1:15 to 1:30, though. At this point, Gibson County, the worst of it seems to be over. We're still looking at some clusters of showers and storms out towards Patoka and Princeton right now on your screen. So let's actually look at that and see if we're seeing any of those winds. Yeah, there's still a lot of wind embedded within that little cluster of showers and storms near Patoka, Hazleton, Princeton, back out towards Owensville. So a lot of strong winds associated with that. We haven't seen the National Weather Service extend these severe thunderstorm warnings beyond their current borders. But right now, Knox County seeing some fairly strong winds out towards Vincennes as well. So damaging straight line wind threats still forefront of mind. But you can see we still have that warning in parts of Davis County near Owensboro for another 5 minutes, though. That being said, look at exactly where that storm is. There's a couple showers in far eastern Davis County right now. I'd be more concerned about Tell City and Hawesville. Look at this. We're going to look and see if we have any. No, that's good. Okay. I was concerned with the way this particular line of thunderstorms looked, possibly seeing some bit of a hooking on the edge of it. And again, with the way these storms are moving, they're moving due north, so the hook would actually come out east a little bit. So no area of rotation near Tell City or Cannleton at this time. So let's look back at our rotation tracker. We're seeing some broad rotation kind of all along this storm, but the National Weather Service has not issued another tornado warning for this system at this time. As far as debris goes, not seeing anything there either, which is great. We don't want that. Again, we have a lot of that clutter back towards our radar site. That's kind of what made it a little difficult to track what we were seeing in parts of Vandenberg County and Gibson County a short bit ago, but since that system seems to be weakening as well, or at least not quite as organized with that threat of potential tornadic activity, we're good to go right there. Multiple severe thunderstorm warnings still in effect. We have one that's going to drop off in the next 4 minutes here. And it looks like maybe we did just get another one potentially. Yeah, it seems like they may have updated that for Spencer County as well as Pike County through 1:30 Central Time, 2:30 Eastern Time. So multiple severe thunderstorm warnings, wind gusts in excess of 60, 70 miles per hour, all on the table with this system as it passes on through. Are we seeing anything new from the National Weather Service, Gunnar? Anything from them that would potentially give us some more info on these storms passing through?